Oh, hi, Weirdos. Dan Rossbach here, your lead discussant at the Weird Book Book Club. Today I'm going to try something a little bit different. Ever since reading a spectacular anthology called Queer Poets of Color, edited by the amazing Christopher Soto, I've been telling myself over and over again, you need to read more poetry. And yet, for some reason, I still find myself feeling overly intimidated by the prospect. So I've decided to try something new. Every so often, when I encounter a poem that really moves me or seems to speak to whatever's happening in my life at the time, I want to share it here with you and maybe start a conversation. But this is totally low stress. Basically, I'm just going to read you the poem, and if you want to talk more about it, do so in the comments or message me on social media. So if you're like me, you've been obsessively watching the impeachment hearings this week, despairing at the prospect of blatant crimes going unpunished, marveling at the ghoulish lunacy of Devin Nunes and Jim Jordan, and just generally feeling pessimistic about humanity and morality and the state of the world in general. But then I remembered a fantastic poem that I once heard read by the insanely multi-talented artist Mickey Blanco, which I'll link in the show notes down below. And honestly, I don't think a poem has ever so accurately expressed my current political stance. And so I'd like to share that experience with you. As you can see, I have prepared some comprehensive and very presidential notes for this discussion. So this poem, I don't think it necessarily has an official title. It was originally written by Zoe Leonard, who is an artist/activist who more commonly worked in photography and sculpture. She wrote this in 1992, inspired by the author Eileen Miles's write-in campaign for the presidential election. So for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to call it, I want a Dyke for president. I want a Dyke for president. I want a person with AIDS for president, and I want a fag for vice president, and I want someone with no health insurance, and I want someone who grew up in a place where the earth is so saturated with toxic waste that they didn't even have a choice about getting leukemia. I want a president that had an abortion at 16, and I want a candidate who isn't the lesser of two evils, and I want a president who lost their last lover to AIDS, who still sees that in their eyes every time they lay down to rest, who held their lover in their arms and knew they were dying. I want a president with no air conditioning, a president who has stood on line at the clinic, at the DMV, at the welfare office, and has been unemployed and laid off and sexually harassed and gay bashed and deported. I want someone who has spent the night in the tombs and had a cross burned on their lawn and survived rape. I want someone who has been in love and been hurt, who respects sex, who has made mistakes and learned from them. I want a black woman for president. I want someone with bad teeth, someone who has eaten hospital food, someone who cross-dresses and has done drugs and been in therapy. I want someone who has committed civil disobedience. And I want to know why this isn't possible. I want to know why we started learning somewhere down the line that a president is always a clown, always a John and never a hooker, always a boss, never a worker, always a liar, always a thief, and never caught. Well, there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you'd like to hear more poetry readings from Weird Old Me. And until next time, happy reading, Weirdos.
I'm a mercenary, break bread with nobody. If my rhymes was a gun, you'd be some dead somebodies. I'm in the passenger of the purple Maserati. Cause hotties sit shoddy cause the honeys count the monies. You need some surgery, why you looking so funny? A bitch was on the come up while you was playing dummy. Now she talking shit like an asshole running. Signing contracts with carrots, pink furs, Babs Bunny. Yes.